Hello and welcome to day 2 of our roadmap to replenishment, your replenishment retreat. I am so excited because yesterday we learned about all of the old programs that our mind created throughout our lifetime and how these programs are driving our behavior today. And I was amazed to see some really big insights in the homework thread of people uncovering some deep beliefs that are maybe not serving them anymore. So that is just so wonderful that you're starting to uncover this, because today we are going to talk about how that old programming is draining our energy without our permission. Not cool old programming. Okay. So can anyone remember the goal of our old programming? Anyone? If you remember it, put it in the chat. I'm going to give away the answer. The answer is to keep us safe. That is our mind's sole goal, is to keep us safe and accepted in our social circle. And the best way to be safe and included is to be loved. So we want to make others love us, and we want to develop an unbreakable, unconditional bond between ourselves and the people in our groups. So I need to make a really important distinction here. Love is boundless, but your energy is not. We have an unlimited capacity to love, but not an unlimited amount of energy. But we treat our energy as if it is love, as if we just give enough of ourselves to the world, we will then be good enough to be lovable. So we give our energy in an attempt to be good enough workers, good enough parents, good enough partners, good enough humans. Our old programming tells us that if we just give enough, then we will be lovable and worthy. And when we become lovable and worthy, people will love us. And we will be able to take in that love, and we will be full of love and full of energy and full of life, because then we will be happy. Did you catch that? Our old programming tells us that if we give enough, then we will be happy. But for most of us, we're not happy. Certainly not the happy that we see other people being. Like, in fact, I mostly just feel like unsettled and exhausted. So I go back to the start of this chain. Something must be wrong at the front end. I must need to give more in order to achieve happiness. Like, if I work more, I'll produce more and I'll get that promotion and I will have more money, and then I will be more worthy and more lovable. And then I will be happy. And so you do get the promotion because you, my friend, can do anything you set your mind to. And are you happier? More full of love? No. Okay, well, what does your programming tell you? Let's start again. Work harder, be better, be more worthy. This is a never-ending treadmill. This is what I call the happiness treadmill, where we are working our little tushes off, chasing happiness, but never getting anywhere. So how do we get off it? How do we get off that treadmill and reclaim our energy and start taking actual steps on the ground towards happiness? So let's start by thinking of a cup that holds our energy. And a cup can only hold so much, because our energy is not never-ending or self-propagating. We can do activities that empty our cup and activities that fill our cup. Okay? Type yes in the chat if you feel like your cup is generally close to empty. That was me for a very long time. Type I try if you try to fill it, but it doesn't stay full for long and just keeps going right back to empty. Many of us have been so busy for so long. We've been on that treadmill for so long that we don't even realize that we are running with an empty cup. We just keep pushing through to the next task and the next one until we are feeling so depleted, and that just becomes normal, and we have no idea how to fill our cup back up. So now we are going to dig into it. We're going to dig into what fills your cup and what takes from it. This is a heavy workbook day. Grab your workbook. You'll see a page called Day 2, Where's My Energy Going? I think it's on page 6. Here, for those of you here on the Zoom, I will drop that in the chat. If I can find the chat. Hi, Martha. There's a link to your workbook if you need it. And now I'm going to share my screen. And there we go. All right, so this is the page in the workbook that we're going to work from today. And so you can see down the middle of this page is a list with various elements of your life that may empty or fill your cup. And so if any of these elements on this list doesn't resonate with you, no problem, just skip it. This exercise is about your personal experience, and not everything is going to apply to everyone. I just made a list of some general things that apply to most people. So we don't realize this, but most things in life both empty and fill your cup. So children are a perfect example for this because they are pretty much exhausting, but they're also amazing and beautiful, and they fill you with love for a short period of time, like usually when they're sleeping or at school. Like it's like more like the idea of children fills us with love. Anyways, okay. So you'll notice that each element has 2 bars next to it, a bar on the right and a bar on the left. The right one is how much it fills you up, and the left one is how much it depletes you. And we're only going to work on the right side for now, the side that shows how much it fills you up. And so right now, go through each of these elements and check how much it fills you up. The higher the number, the more it feels good and fills your cup. So I'm going to just go through it right now. If you've got an electronic copy, you can just click on the number. If you've printed it, circle it. Okay. So there we go. Now take a look at your, I don't know what to call this, your list here. And look and see which one is the top thing that fills your cup, the one with the highest number, and share that in the chat. So you can see for me that my highest number is friends. Friends fills my cup the most. And if you have a tie, if you have 2 of them that are filling your cup the most, that's fantastic. Just pick one. Oh, you got to pick one, Jen. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so once you have picked one, we're going to move down to the next page here. Yes, you are faster than me, Jen. This is not unusual. And so we're going to the new page here, and we're just going to type our top energy filler here. So for me, it was friends, and so I'm going to type friends in here. Okay. And then we are going to think about why. Why does that fill your cup the most? So I'm going to put an example in here for you to look at, but you type your own stuff, and when you're done, put done in the chat. I guess for those of you who are listening, I'll say it out loud. So my example is I would have exploded by now if it weren't for my friends. Having someone to vent to and empathize with is so crucial to me. When I'm with them, I can just let go. I don't have to be professional or dress a certain way. I can just chill and be me. And I laugh the most with my friends, and that feels good. Hello, Tara. Happy to see you here today. I'll give you 30 more seconds to write your reasons why. Carolyn's done. Thank you. Okay, so if you need more time, that's okay. You've got this workbook forever. So let's go back up to the top here and let's look at the left side. So as we discussed, most things fill us up and drain us too. So we're going to take a minute to complete the left column, the one that goes down into the negatives. And so the higher negative number, the more draining it is. So -1 is just a little draining and -10 is completely draining. And when you are done, note which one drains you the most and put it in the chat. So I'll just do mine here. Okay, so we're going to do the exact same exercise. We're going to note which one is the most draining. So for me, this is other people. So people who are not my kids and my personal relationships and my friends. Carolyn, for you, it's kids. That's very common. Okay, so we're going to note which one is the most draining, and we're going to put it here in our top energy drainer. Jen, you're overthinking it. So the ones that have the furthest away are the highest, the most draining, and the ones that are closest are the least draining. Okay. So we put our top energy drainer here, and then we're going to do the exact same exercise, and we are going to think about why. Why is this draining our cup so much? So here's my example. Relationships with my extended family are complicated and tense. This keeps me up at night and it makes me dread family functions. I also have work in my other people. So I have a colleague who is super whiny and she calls me all the time to complain about everything. And I just don't want to hear about it. I find that draining. So write that for you. I'll give you a little time. Okay, so if you need more time, feel free to keep writing as I'm chatting. But now that we've gotten these written out, I'm just going to pause this exercise for a second and talk about some of the obvious things that take our energy. So our goal today is to, find the hidden things that drain our energy. And I grew up believing that there were three things that took my energy: physical things, mental things, and emotional things. So by physical, I mean like doing things, rushing from meeting to meeting, cleaning the house, getting groceries, carrying the little ones around, like all the things that our body physically does in a day. It takes energy. I mean, like, obviously, right? But when COVID hit, I wasn't doing any of those things anymore. All of my meetings took place in my chair at home. I pretty much stopped cleaning the house. I got my groceries delivered, and my kids are older, so I don't carry them around, but I was still freaking exhausted. Anyone relate to that? Okay. So the next obvious one after physical is mental exhaustion. I am talking about being on all day, problem solving, decision making, report writing, remembering all the little things that you need to remember, all the decisions that you need to make in a day, like what to have for dinner. And when you're emotionally exhausted, all of that can seem overwhelming. I mean, mentally exhausted. So how many of you are feeling mentally exhausted? Like you just want to not think for a while? This was a big one for me, and a big one for so many parents, but it's still an obvious one, right? We can be mentally exhausted, and we know what it is that's draining our energy. Okay, so finally, the last obvious one is emotionally exhausted. This is where like how we feel when the kids are being difficult, or when we are having a hard time, or like the kids are having a hard time and we're worried about them. This is the exhaustion that we feel when we have a fight with our partner, or when you get some devastating news. And we have so many feelings, and that just drains our cup. Right? So if those are the only energy drainers, mental, physical, emotional, why am I still so tired after a weekend of binge watching and pizza eating? I've done nothing physical, nothing mentally taxing, no big emotional hardship. What the heck? And so that's why we are here today. We are going to talk about the less obvious things that drain your energy behind the scenes. So the first less obvious thing is holding in your emotions. Think about all the moments in your day where you want to lose it, but you don't. Maybe there are times where you have resentment for your partner who is sitting on the couch while you are running around and getting everything done, but you keep your mouth shut. Maybe you have frustration at the kids not eating the dinner that you totally thought would be a win, but you smile and you grin and bear it. So every time you do that, every time you hold in an emotion, you stuff another message, because emotions are messages, into your internal junk drawer. And after years of this, your internal space is looking a lot like an episode of Hoarders. You have emotions in there from yesterday on top of piles and piles of emotions that you have been stuffing down for years, since childhood, when we learned that emotions are bad and messy and too much and could ruin friendships and make us seem weak and unstable. So remember our programs from yesterday? We have so much programming around emotions. And so your body is busting at the seams with old, repressed, shoved down emotions, and it has to work really hard to hold them all in. And have you ever noticed that sometimes your grip loosens and one of them sneaks out? Like your grip loosens when you're trying to sleep, and out of the blue, you remember that fight that you had in middle school, and you're thinking about all the things that you should have said to her. Or another obvious one that your grip loosens is when you've had a little bit too much to drink, And we've all seen the angry drunks and the crying drunks because alcohol loosens your grip on emotions, loosens your grip on yourself. And if you've got lots of them stuffed in there, they can sneak out. Okay, so let's look at our exercise here. Let me share my screen again. All right. So let's take a look at your biggest energy drainer. Is there anywhere in there like you feel like you have to hold in your emotions, where you can't speak your mind or like you feel unheard? I'm going to grab a pen here. Oh, it won't let me on this one. Oh, there, draw. Okay. Let's see. So okay, well, look at this. Tense. I've got an emotion right there. This keeps me up at night. I dread my family functions, but I go anyway, right? I have a colleague who's super whiny. I don't want to hear about it. I find complaining draining. I'm holding it in. All right. So take a look at your top energy drainer and see if just reflect and see if there are times where you are holding in your emotions. All right. So that means that our energy saving tip number 1 is to learn how to process your emotions. You need the tools to be able to process the ones that pop up right now, like the new fresh ones that come up. And then you need also tools to process the old ones that you have been holding on for so long and creating that toxicity inside of you. And when you learn how to befriend your feelings, suddenly you can let them go. And that leaves you feeling lighter and cleaner. And it leaves more room for you to start adding nice things into your once cramped hoarder house. Okay, so let's move on to hidden energy drainer number 2. Energy draining number 2 is people pleasing, taking actions based on what you think the people around you want. We have some major programming around that too, because most of our childhood, that is what was expected. Be helpful, be obedient, make your parents happy, make your teachers happy, make your friends happy. Because if you are making everyone happy, you're a good person, right? And if you're a good person, then you're going to be accepted and welcome, and you're going to be a secure member in your group, right? Ooh, now that you know about programming, can you see that a little bit differently? Can you see that throughout our entire childhood, many of us had to learn to put aside our needs? And there could be lots of reasons for that. For me, it was because it elevated my status in the group. Oh, here comes Christina. She will help. She's reliable. She's going to get the job done. And that felt good for me. For other people, it might have been to avoid harm. Anticipating the needs of your parents can avoid a shaming or a beating. And so we turn into grown-ups who are on alert for ways that we can be useful and helpful to the people around us, spending our energy anticipating their needs and running scenarios in our minds like, okay, if I say this or if I do this, these could be the outcomes. And when I do that, I'm going to pick the safest path. And usually the safest path is just to be compliant and do the things that they want you to do. And so you end up listening to your coworker whine when you have a million things to do because you don't want to rock the boat. You end up saying yes to things you don't want to do and just gritting your teeth through it all. Hey, look, we're back to holding in our emotions. Okay. It is freaking exhausting trying to guess what other people want, anticipate their needs, and deliver what we hope will be good enough. It's like we are just pretending all of the time, pasting on a smile and spending our energy on everything but ourselves. All right, let's look back at our workbook. Share my screen again. Workbook. All righty. In your top energy drainers, are you taking actions to please others? So for me, I'm going to family functions, sometimes even hosting them, because I want to please my other family members. And I want to be the good and drama-free family member. So let's pick a new color here. Where am I people pleasing? All right. Family functions, where they're complicated and I'm just being so nice and so helpful. I am pleasing my colleague because I am hearing about it, even though I don't want to. There. All right, so take a look at your book, at your top energy drainers, and see if there are places where you are pleasing people. It's interesting, this one, because for a long time, I believed that pleasing others was actually what pleased me. I believed that I was happier when I was making everyone around me happy. And really, because a certain extent, it feels good to make other people happy until I have to compromise myself and my truth in order to please them. So I think that's an important distinction, because in order to figure out which moments are like feel-good pleasing and which ones are fear-based pleasing. So that means which ones are your authentic self, who really just wants to make a connection with somebody, and which ones are programmed pleasing that actually goes against your authentic self. So in order to figure out which one it is, we need to first figure out what we care about and then learn how to set boundaries around that. And I have great news. Boundary Day is tomorrow. So we are actually going to do that tomorrow. We're going to set boundaries around what we care about the most. Okay. Third and final hidden energy drainer for today. You are doing things that go against your values. If you have a value of family first, but you are taking on commitments that are going to go against that, you're going to feel that on the inside. If you have a value of high quality work, but your boss wants you to cut corners, you're going to feel that. If you have a value of not fighting with your partner in front of your kids, but your partner starts a fight at the dinner table, that is going to cause that internal dissonance that we were talking about yesterday. When we take actions that are not in alignment with our values, our whole body retaliates. We can get sick to our stomach. We can have difficulty breathing. We can have a panic attack even. And if we do it long term, it can have devastating health consequences. So why do we do that? Why do we take actions that feel so wrong? Not morally wrong necessarily, but wrong for us. And the answer is always, say it with me, old programming. Yes, good job. Okay, so are there examples in the areas that drain you of your energy where you are doing things that go against your values? Take a look and see. I'm not going to share again because we've looked at my stuff enough. Actually, I will share because I want to talk about one more thing. All right. So are there places here that go against your values? Okay, so I have values that are our families should get along. Our family should love and support each other. And so having these complicated, intense relationships really hurts my values. I also have values of being at work and spending my time working. And so I find it very draining when people pull me away from that. Okay, now what I wanted to talk about real quick is let's look quickly at our energy filler, our top energy filler. Let's look in there how those three elements show up in our energy filler. So we are looking for places where we are free to express our emotions. This is the opposite, right? Are we holding in our emotions in this energy filler, or are we free to express them? So for me, I even wrote that I laugh a lot. I can just be myself. I can just let go. I don't need to hide my emotions. I even get to vent. Sweet. Okay, so my emotions come out. So the next one is people pleasing. Look at your top energy filler. Are you people pleasing in that one? No, I don't need to please them. I can just show up how I am. I can just chill and be me. I don't have to be professional or dress a certain way, which is something I feel that I have to do in most of my life. Okay, then the last one is going against my values. Are there times where I have to go against my values? And no, because my true friends, I can say to them, I don't want to do that. And they're like, okay, girl, no problem, right? I don't have to go against my values. And so I have a situation where being with them fills my cup. Do you see the difference? How the top energy drainer has those three things and how the top energy filler looks a little different? Okay. So now that we have reflected on that, is it any wonder that we are so tired? Our old programming can have us living according to what we think, or our mind BS tells us other people want. We present a version of ourselves that our mind tells us will be most accepted and most lovable. And that is exhausting. And if you remember from yesterday, do you remember that gap between who we really are and the version of ourselves, the other way around, who we really are and the version of ourselves that we present to the world? And that creates dissonance. Presenting to the world a version of ourselves that we think is acceptable and hiding our true selves creates dissonance. And dissonance sucks up our energy. All right. It's story time. I am going to tell you about James. James was working a job that he didn't like, with a boss who was mean and frankly abusive to his employees. But James had great work ethic and he genuinely cared about the people he was helping. These were the clients of the company that he was working for. But being in that environment was a daily struggle. And if you think about that in terms of what we just learned, James had to constantly hold himself in. He had to continue to work in order to please his wife. Since they counted on each other financially, he had to hold his tongue in an environment where things were happening that went against his values. He had to hold in his emotions, his frustrations, and his sadness and anger at the situation. And all of it made him feel powerless. So, as we just talked about, we have limited space to store our emotions. We talked about the hoarder house earlier. And now I'm going to use the analogy of a pot. James kept stuffing his emotions into the pot. And it kept getting fuller and fuller until he was carrying around this huge, heavy pot. And it's exhausting. And it's at a high risk of overflowing. And our programming tells us that when we are at work, we need to be a certain way. We need to be professional, which means we need to keep that pot lid on super tight. But we cannot keep that lid tight forever. It's impossible. But James tried. He kept that lid on so tight all day long. And then he went home and he did not want to explode out onto his wife. And so he numbed. He numbed out with TV and video games. He was exhausted from holding in his emotions all day, being in all of these situations that went against his values and working to please his boss and his clients. And he ended up in a life where he would work all day and then watch TV and play video games all night. And he found himself cranky. He came to me and he said, Christina, I am angry all the time. Little things set me off, little things that shouldn't even make me angry. I get mad at my wife for tiny things. I try to go out with my friends to make me feel better, but I get mad at my friends when they make stupid, ignorant comments. Christina, I hate my life and I don't know what to do. I am bored, but I don't know what to do because when I get home, I can't seem to manage to do anything other than watch TV. And then I get down on myself for watching TV and not doing something like something productive or something that I like or something that will fill my cup. See, James is a creative guy. He loves music and writing, and he's even done voice work in the past. And he was disappointed when he wasn't spending his evenings doing that. But he just felt so stuck in this rut. And he felt like this rut was so deep that he couldn't see a way out of it. So now that you've learned what you learned today, can you see why James got in that rut? Can you see why he was so exhausted and why he couldn't manage to do anything other than just get through his day? So James joined my program, Bridge to Your Best Life, and he uncovered some very deep old programming that told him that anger is bad, and therefore he is bad if he shows anger. Programming told him that he had to put aside his passions in favor of a real job. And programming that said he cannot speak his mind because it could end badly. He could risk friendships or even his job if he spoke up. And so he kept silent. He watched his colleagues take abuse from their boss. He himself took abuse from that boss. And he put it all inside him and constantly felt like he was going to explode. And so after we uncovered the old programming that was holding him back, we started to explore where he wanted to go, what he really wanted to do, what really mattered to him, who really mattered to him. What would it mean for him to truly live his best life? And that is what we are going to do together right now. Okay, let's go back to your workbook. Okay. Let's look back at our top energy drainers. Okay, so for me, my top energy drainers is other people, and then like work is kind of like a second. Okay, and then we're going to go down into the box that says my wishes. What do you wish you could do or say? And we started doing an exercise like this yesterday. So you know, if you did this exercise yesterday, that we are just going to take a breath and we are going to let fly whatever comes. We're not going to overthink it. We're not going to let our old programming tell us it's stupid. We're just going to write out our wishes. Here are some examples from me. Let me paste them into my book, and then you write your own. So sometimes it's hard to find your wishes. I hope that you were able to take a breath and let fly. If it's calling to you, please share in the chat one of your wishes so we can all be inspired by what you are doing. So for me, I wish I could have easy relationships with my family. I just want it to be easy. I wish I could have less to do. I wish I could work in peace and just get my stuff done. Like working from home has been a delight for me. I wish I didn't feel so tired all the time, and I wish I had more patience. So I'm going to keep talking, and you can keep writing your wishes if you want. And I just want to remind you that when you give yourself permission to dream in this way, you're accessing a deeper part of you, that true self part of you that is so much wiser than your mind. And this helps us uncover what really matters to you. And I'm going to push you a little bit today. And I'm going to give you this challenging exercise. And it's challenging because your mind does not want you to know these things. Your mind is stuck with its programs as the most safest course of action. And it has stuffed away your deepest desires because it deems them to be too risky, too unsafe. And it has hidden them for years. But your mind is wrong. Uncovering your deepest desires and then taking active steps to get there is the true recipe for happiness. Getting closer to your true, authentic self is what matters the most. So let's see if we can use our wishes to figure out what really matters to us. All right, so let's use mine for an example. I wish I could have easy relationships with my family. Why do I wish that? Well, because I think it's important for family to stick together and that there's unconditional love and acceptance and that everybody puts in effort. Okay, so I'm going to move that over here. So what matters to me is that we create relationships that have love and unconditional love and acceptance, and that everybody puts in effort. That's an important one. Everybody puts in effort, because I don't want it to be just me putting in effort. Okay, I wish I could have less to do. Anyone else have that on their wish list? So what really matters to me is living a life where I have space. I love to have space to think and rest. So I'm going to put that over here in the what really matters to me part. I wish I could work in peace and get my stuff done because I value quiet and productivity. I like to have room to contemplate and the respect of not being interrupted. All right. So do you think you can do some on your own? How many people we got here? All right, let's see if we can do some together. Anybody like to share any of their wishes? Let's see if there's a wish in the chat. So many great comments here. Okay, anybody share a wish so we can see if we can do this together. I can't see my Facebook peeps. Oh, there, figured it out. All right. So let's keep going with mine. Oh, Thank you, Susan. I appreciate you jumping in the awkward silence. Thank you, Martha. I appreciate that too. So Susan says, I wish I was strong enough to find more positive at work. That in there. And Martha says, I wish I could get more done. Yes. Okay. So let's look at that. What does that actually mean in terms of what really matters? I wish I was strong enough to find more positive at work. Susan, you want to chat with me about that? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm currently at work, so that's why my video is not on. But I can text something quickly.
Okay, but what do you mean by positive at work? Question you at work. All right. I'll wait for your text. Martha, are you able to chat with me? You're muted, hon. Hello.
Hi, I guess I can. I'll try.
I appreciate you guys. You guys are being so brave, and I'm putting you on the spot without any warning. So I appreciate you doing that. I wish I could get more done. Why?
Because I see many of my peers managing what I've got and more with more ease, not feeling as overwhelmed by it. So I know if it's possible for them, it should be possible for me.
Yeah. So what would open up if you got more done? What would that bring to your life?
I think I'd feel like happier about the space that I'm providing for my kid and myself and my family. So that would be like, that would bring some peace. And it would give me more time to just like do the stuff that I actually need, which is like sitting quietly.
Okay. So why is it important to you to have more space for your family and sit quietly and doing the stuff that you actually need?
Because I think that would feed our family. I think it would create like a feedback loop that would be positive.
Okay. So what really matters to you is having a positive feedback loop that nourishes your family.
That is a very nice way to frame that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Martha. I appreciate so much. This was so valuable and helpful, and that's fantastic. You are off the spotlight.
Phew.
You did it. You did a great job. I appreciate it so much. Okay. So look how we did that. Martha's programming says, I wish I could get more done. But what really matters is having a positive feedback loop that nourishes her family. Her old programming says, I'm going to get that positive feedback loop by doing more. My peers are doing more. I should be doing more. They're handling what I'm handling. So I should be able to handle what they're handling, and I should be able to do more. And then my family will be happier, and then everything will be just beautiful and wonderful. And I bet you that creates dissonance. Your true self wants this beautiful feedback loop, and your programming says, do more. And the irony is that when you do more, it often takes you away from the connections that you want to create in your family, right? Yes, you nailed it. This is the dissonance that I was talking about. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so Susan got back to us. Susan says that positivity at work means instead of always focusing on the negative, things that need to be improved, she wants to focus more on the positive at work. And we can go through this same exercise. So when you start putting things into the what really matters column, ask yourself why. Why does that matter? What is it going to bring me in my life? Is it going to bring me anything? Okay. and just start brainstorming those whys until you get to a place where it starts feeling emotional. And when it starts feeling emotional, that's when you know you have hit something valuable. Okay. Oh, I wasn't sharing my screen that whole time when I was typing in it. Oh, well. Anyway, we got the point. Okay. So defining your old programming is the first step to figuring out why you are here, right here in this spot, in the life that you are in, feeling like you are feeling. And figuring out what truly matters to you, what you want to be remembered for, and how you personally define your dream life, that gives you a destination. You're here, but you want to get here. And it feels like there's this big abyss between them. Like, how is that possible? How can I possibly get to this other place over here? Well, the answer is you build a bridge. You build a bridge full of skills that are going to take you from where you are today all the way to the other side into your best life. Skills to shed your old programming, skills to honor your emotions, and skills to build boundaries to protect what you have discovered truly matters to you. And so that's what James did. I'm going back to James for a sec. He took my program called Bridge to Your Best Life, and he showed up for himself. He came to every meeting. He dug into himself with like a truly humbling amount of determination. And he learned the skills and he put them into practice. And he built himself a bridge to his best life. He started in a place where he was dealing with depression and anger and broken relationships. And I just had a chat with him a few weeks ago, and he says he is in a better place mentally and emotionally. He says he still gets the impulses and the triggers that used to make him rage, but now his emotional pot has a lot more space in it, and so it doesn't overflow so easily. He also sees, and this is critical, he sees his anger differently. And because he sees it differently, he reacts differently. His relationship with his wife has changed. They communicate better, and he no longer snaps at her. He is experimenting with his creative pursuits again. He even got a new job. Oh, that is huge. A new job that is much more healthier for him. But the biggest change that he reports is his relationship with himself. He says, I'm finally cutting myself some slack and listening to my intuition. I have actually stopped seeing some of my friends that I realized completely drain me. And instead, I am choosing activities that fill me up. I'm even trying a new productivity app to help with my ADHD. And that's really helped me stay organized. And he says, I never would have tried it before because I didn't believe that anything would help me. And he says, I'm gonna cry, but he says, maybe I didn't believe I was good enough to be helped, but I am so much happier now. And this is why I do this, because I want each and every one of you to have this experience, to jump into your best life, the life that you were meant to live. And so today we continue to uncover our old programming, and we saw how this old programming is draining our energy behind the scenes. It's created a false recipe for happiness that is keeping us running on a treadmill, working so hard to get to that elusive happiness. And we are spending a ton of energy on this treadmill, but we are never getting any closer. So what we all need as humans is a steady hand to hold as we get off of this treadmill and we get used to what it feels like to stand still again and to get acquainted with our true selves again. And so here in this group, we will be steady hands for each other. Okay, so in the spirit of being here to support each other, I want to take a minute to celebrate those of you who brought a friend to this event. Hooray! This is important because we get the double benefit of helping more people blast into their best lives, but also giving each other an accountability buddy or somebody to bounce all of these ideas off of at the end of it. And so right now we're going to do the draw for the people who brought a friend to this event. And right now I have 3 people in my draw. I have Jen who brought Martha, I've got Angelique who brought Tammany, and Tammany who brought Tara. Anybody else need to be in this draw? No? All right, let's share my screen. All right, we have this wheel. I put everybody in twice because having it in thirds was like not so great. Spinny, 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 spinny. Who's going to win? Who is going to win? Jen! Hooray! Jen! Okay, you win your own set of affirmators cards. Woohoo! Woo-hoo. All right. Congratulations, Jen. I love that you're here live today too, so that you can enjoy it. Fantastic. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to start setting boundaries around what really matters the most. So we figured out today a lot of the things that matter most, and now we need to protect that. So I'm going to show you a new perspective on boundaries that makes setting them so much more intuitive. And you're going to need your list of things that really matter that you created today, because you're going to leave tomorrow knowing exactly how to start integrating that into your life. These boundaries will help you step off the treadmill. So if we go back to our impossible pie analogy from yesterday, addressing our old programming creates spaces in our pie. If we are no longer going against our values and holding in our voice and our emotions and working so hard to please everyone, we start having little energetic gaps in our day. And so tomorrow, we are going to use boundaries to reinforce the little holes that we've created. And so that our little spaces don't go crumbling down and just fill themselves back up. And then on Thursday, we are going to fill them back up with something better. We are going to learn how to replenish our energy cup. So addressing old programming plugs the leaks, which is an essential start, but we are also going to need to be able to fill our own cups. Yay! Okay, so your homework for today, you uncovered some of the things that matter most, but to make this really stick, we're going to dig a bit deeper, okay? I know it was hard, but we're going to still dig deeper. For your homework today, you're going to take one of the things that you uncovered that matters most and write out why it matters in the space at the bottom of the page. So Martha uncovered that, where's the workbook? She wants to have a positive feedback loop that nourishes her family. Why? Why is that important to you? See if you can write that out. Why do you care so much about that? Okay. What benefits will you get from it? How will your loved ones benefit from it? And what will happen if you don't have that? Okay, share in the homework thread for your chance to win a prize. And thank you so much for showing up today, showing up for yourself. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow, where we start putting boundaries around what really matters most to you that you uncovered today. See you tomorrow. Thank you.